This is ancient knowledge. Put it to work for you today. Hey, I am Chuck the Bureaucrat, and since Google says today marks the Chinese New Year, I thought I'd introduce you to a Chinese essay called The 36 Stratagems. The contents of this essay have been attributed to a whole host of different historical figures, including Sun Tzu, but it first got published in 1961, so I tend to think of it as a collection of multiple unnamed sources. Anyways, I learned about this when I was doing my stats PhD. As you can imagine, most of my cohort was Chinese. My advisor was Chinese. A lot of our guest speakers, they were Chinese. In fact, I got invited to the Chinese Statistical International Association's annual meeting at one point. They would often refer to these stratagems, even in an academic environment, so I figure it's worth at least knowing that they exist. Oh, and here's the good news. Some of these strategies are going to seem familiar to you. And for some of the less familiar ones, I'll show you how they've been useful for me in the Pentagon. The essay breaks these stratagems down into 6 chapters with 6 strategies for each chapter. And like I said, some of these will be familiar to you, like defeat the enemy by capturing the chief, or feign madness but maintain your balance, a little Hamlet there for you. And then you get into some of the mysterious sounding ones like slough the cicada's golden shell. That means that if you have to escape a more powerful enemy, you want to drop any distinctive traits that may give you away. And then there's a couple that I really like, and I've been using them for years. The first one is disturb the water and catch a fish. This involves creating some chaos and then exploiting it to your advantage. Now, normally the way I do this is by syncing myself up with one of those 1 or 2 star infantry generals who just come into the building like a ball of fire. A lot of times when that kind of officer shows up at the Pentagon, they're handed a task to ramrod through. And in cases like that, the bureaucrats, guys like me, have already laid out the machinery to get that task done. We just need an executive with the right lack of interest in long-term professional relationships. So what I do is I wait for them to make their big splash, and then all of a sudden those little fishes who did not want to have anything to do with a mind-numbing bureaucrat, they come swimming straight for me to provide some kind of evidence that they're getting something done to satisfy the general. They are so interested in getting away from the big bad general that they are willing to put in the work to get things done. Here's another one I like. Wait at leisure while the enemy labors. This involves letting, even encouraging your opponent to waste their time and effort on pointless tasks. This is a classic bureaucratic ploy. Think back to that infantry general we were talking about. In the last example, we channeled his energy and the flurry he created to get things done by structuring the actual results. Now imagine that that same general comes in with some kind of personal crusade that the bureaucrats don't really support. What we do is we sit back. I know, normally you think of bureaucrats as impeding the process, but you would be amazed how many keep their hands clean by just letting the sparrows beat themselves to death. Okay, one more and then I'll let you go. Loot a burning house. This one's kind of opportunistic because you take advantage of someone's internal chaos. I mean, imagine a house that's on fire and somebody runs in and steals a television. At first glance, it looks like they're saving the television. And then, even afterwards, when you figure out that they stole it, well, it was going to be destroyed in the fire anyways, so it's not like it was a real loss. So back to my favorite infantry general. Imagine that he hits the ground. Nobody gives him a specific task. He has no personal crusade. He just kind of has some vague notion that it's his responsibility to teach these staff pukes a lesson. So he's just going to destabilize his own staff for the fun of it. I'm going to be cruising through his offices a lot. I mean, I don't work for him. He can't touch me. I'm going to poach his good staff. There might be some process that I'm going to take off his hands. And God knows in all the chaos that he's creating, I'm going to slip things past his office. I'll tell you, the Chinese have some really powerful lessons packed into some simple stories. You want another simple story? Try this one.